The NIRA, National Industrial Recovery Act. History probably will record the National Industrial Recovery Act as the most important and far-reaching legislation ever enacted by the American Congress. It represents a supreme effort to stabilize for all time the many factors which make for the prosperity of the nation and the preservation of the American standards. Theodore Roosevelt. The purpose of the NIRA was to regulate industry in order to raise prices after severe decrease in the general price levels of goods and services during the Depression. Roosevelt hoped that his New Deal would allow Americans to cope with the Great Depression, would help end the current economic downturn, and would help prevent another depression from occurring in the future. The laws. Businesses had to regulate themselves and guarantee fair trade. Roosevelt hoped that this would encourage fair competition, reduce unemployment, and stimulate the economy. This law promised that if businesses followed the new code, they were exempt from antitrust laws. The NIRA recognizes laborers' rights to unionize, created the Public Works Administration, and provided $3.3 billion to hire Americans to build construction projects like sidewalks, schools, and post offices. Titles. Title I, devoted to industrial recovery, authorizing industrial codes of fair competition, guaranteed trade union rights, regulation of working standards, and regulated the price of certain refined petroleum products and their transportation. Title II, established the PWA and outlined the projects and funding opportunities it would get. The history. The act began immediately. Hugh Johnson created the NIRA, National Recovery Administration, to implement the goals of the NIRA on June 20, 1933, while Harold Ickes was in charge of the PWA. Because of the NRA and the PWA reported to different cabinets, it made coordination more difficult. The NIRA became famous for making a numerous amount of regulations. The agency approved 557 basic and 189 supplementary industry codes in 2 years. Between 4,000 and 5,000 business practices were prohibited, and thousands of opinions from national, regional, and local code boards interpreted and enforced the act. Implementation of Section 7 of the NIRA proved to be very problematic. The protections of the act led to a massive wave of union organizing, employer violence, general strikes, and recognition strikes. In addition, the National Labor Board was established to implement the collective bargaining provisions of the act. The National Labor Board proved to be ineffective, though, and on June 5, 1935, a new law, the National Labor Relations Act, superseded the NIRA and established a new, long-lasting federal labor policy. The backlash against the act was so severe that it generated a huge loss of political support for the New Deal and Roosevelt himself. So Roosevelt created a second New Deal program, including a new agency for the NIRA in 1935. The leadership of the PWA was torn over the new agency's goals. PWA could initiate its own construction projects or distribute money to other agencies to fund their construction projects. But many in the Roosevelt administration felt PWA should not spend money, fearing that it would worsen the federal deficit, and so funds flowed slowly. The nature of construction also held up the flow of money. Among the projects of the PWA funded between 1935 and 1939 are the USS Yorktown, USS Enterprise, the 30th Street Railroad Station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Triborough Bridge, the Port of Brownsville, Grand Coulee Dam, Boulder Dam, Fort Peck Dam, Bonneville Dam, and the overseas highway connecting Key West, Florida, and the mainland. The end of the NIRA. Roosevelt wanted to reauthorize the NIRA, but the Supreme Court found the act unconstitutional because the NIRA was delegating the power to create laws to the NRA. So by May 1935, the NIRA was terminated. Critiques. The NIRA caused significantly increased union organizing, which led to labor unrest. NIRA's industry codes interfered with capital markets, inhibiting economic recovery. The WPA was created to give Americans jobs, but they only accepted skilled workers when most of the Americans who applied were not skilled. The NIRA endorsed cartels and monopolies, which hindered Americans' economic growth. At first, Roosevelt thought that high prices brought on by monopolies were necessary because of severe deflation. High prices did help to stabilize industry a little bit, but in the end it backfired because prices were raised too high. The program lacked support from the business community. The act was poorly administered. It was able to bring together competing interests, labor, small/big businesses, etc., to pass legislation, but the different interests fought over how the act should be implemented. The argument led to failure of leadership and confusion of goals. By 1934, the NIRA leaders gave up on the act and its codes, causing the NIRA to collapse. In conclusion, the NIRA was always destined to hurt America's economy, hinder business and industry, and altogether fail its true purpose. Why was it destined to not work? Because from the beginning it was not supported and not led effectively. Those were the Act's biggest mistakes. Pop quiz. What does NIRA stand for? A. National Irrigation Recovery Act. B. National Indian Rodeo Agency. C. National Industrial Recovery Act. Or D. National Ink Rations Act. 2. What is a law that was passed? A. You have to brush your teeth before going to work. B. Businesses have to follow industry codes. C. You cannot work if you're under 15. Or D. You're not allowed to unionize. What is one of the agencies the NIRA created? A. WPA. B. NRA. C. NRR. D. A and B. 4. Who was in charge of the WPA? A. Barack Obama. B. President Monson. C. Franklin Roosevelt. Or D. Harold Ickes. 5. What year was the NIRA abolished? A. 1933. B. 2011. C. 1935. Or D. 999 BC. Answers. 1 was C, 2 was B, 3 was D, 4 was D, and 5 was C. This video was created by Joy Petruka, Mary Petruka, and Jocelyn Fast.